This is Talk to Me, the official podcast of MetalNexus.net. Your host, Joshua Toomey, bring you epic rants, anecdotes, and interviews with heavy hitters from hardcore
A new life begins!
to hair metal. This is Talk to Me.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into Talk to Me, the official podcast of MetalNexus.net. As always, I am your host, Joshua Toomey, and this is episode 182. The guest this week is the great Max Cavalera. Soulfly have a great new album called Ritual out this Friday, October 19th on Nuclear Blast Records. It's always a treat to have Max Cavalera on the line. I believe Max is now a 4-time guest of the podcast. I think that might be a record. I don't think anyone else has been on more than 3 times. I thought I was lucky to have Max Cavalera on the podcast 1 time, let alone 4 times, and to talk about this new album, Ritual, which is an insane new album, produced by Josh Wilbur, who's done great things with bands such as Lamb of God. It's the album that you want from Soulfly. You know, it's got Mark Rizzo doing crazy noises, it's got some new metal elements, it's got a lot of groove to it. This is the album we have been waiting for so very long. I'm so happy to have Max on to talk about the new album. Once again, like I said, it's out October 19th. Let's check out a track off of it right now. This track is called Ritual.
Hello, everybody. This is Max Cavalera, Soulfly, and you are listening to Talk to Me. Stay metal. Oi!
As you know, the Talk To Me podcast is brought to you by Good Company with Bowling. Yes, our good friend down in Atlanta, Georgia, who just celebrated a birthday. That's our good friend Scott Bowling with Good Company with Bowling. Check out scottgoodcompany.com. Search him out on YouTube, just Good Company with Bowling. Great interviews with members of Korn, Stuck Mojo, Nonpoint, Seven Dust, Islander. Eddie Trunk was a recent guest. Jose Mangan, a recent guest. Done by our other good friend in Atlanta, Georgia, Nathan Mowry. Make sure you are checking it out. If you like well done, well shot, well executed interviews, you will love our good friend Scott Bowling with Good Company with Bowling, and let him know that the Talk To Me podcast sent you. And like I said at the top of the show, we have Max Cavalera on the line. Let's not wait too much longer. Let's check out a classic Max Cavalera track. This is Slave New World off of Chaos AD, and then we will talk to Max Cavalera. We got Max Cavalera on the line once again, and Max, huge honor, huge pleasure to have you on the podcast once again.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
Good. And the latest album, Ritual, and like I said at the top of the show, out this Friday, October 19th, Nuclear Blast Records. It's a total throwback, Max, and I know the fans are going to be 100% excited for this album. I can't stop listening to it. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we're very excited. We put a lot on it. We worked very hard on it. It was a kind of a little bit of a difficult record to make, but I think that's how the good ones are. It doesn't come easy, but I'm pretty satisfied now that's all done and it's finally coming out, because the waiting was the worst. Waiting for the record to come out it was killing me, you know.
Yeah, I remember last time we sat down and we talked for a little bit about it, and you were saying that Josh Wilbur kind of had a lot to do with kind of, you know, no pun intended, but you kind of going back to the roots of your early Soulfly, later Sepultura.
Right, yeah. That's kind of the idea of the album. It kind of hit me when I was thinking of the record, that what I like about this music. And I was thinking, I love the tribal stuff. That's never went away. I was always connected to that. So I wanted to bring that back. I love the groove, heavy grooves and stuff. So I wanted to do more of that. And I also love extreme stuff that I'm a big still fan today of all the new bands and all that. How can I put all that in the same record? You know, like that was the challenge. So that's what I was up to. That was like the mountain I had to climb was to do all those things and make sure that one doesn't takes over the other one and they all stay good together. That's why I was kind of joking about the album was calling like tribal death, tribal thrash. That's not too far from reality, which I think is how the album came out, because I think you have songs on it that almost like a death metal song, like Under Rapture, there's Ross from Immolation, and you have really groove stuff like Bite the Bullet or Ritual, that's almost like Primitive Song Part 2 or a Roots kind of song, you know. So I think we found the balance between all of them, and I think Josh is really was like the perfect guy to make this record. I felt safe with him, and he came in as a fan. I'm making the record he wanted to hear as a fan. I made the record I wanted to hear as a fan of music, not only fan of Soulfly, but fan of metal in general. So I think because of that, I think we found something cool that we all kind of like agree on it, and it came out really cool. We even kind of went out of the comfort zone with stuff like Feedback, like dipping our toes in rock and roll and Motorhead, which was really, really fun. And I probably want to do more of that in the future because that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, with a song like Feedback, I had to actually Google and to make sure it wasn't a cover because, I mean,
exactly.
you know, you're known to do covers. So I was like, was this just like a Motorhead song? I don't remember. But then you hear the lyrics and you're like, I'm pretty sure Lemmy didn't write those lyrics. But
right, yeah. I mean, that was the kind of idea. You know, I had this. I'm really obsessed with that era of Motorhead, especially Ace of Spades, Iron Fist, No Sleep Till Hammersmith, and the image of renegades that they had. That was so awesome, man. You know, the leather and they just look like criminals. You know, it was so cool. And I was like, you know, challenge myself, can I write? And so I started messing with the riff, and I play for the guys. Like, what do you guys think of this? And they all the Soulfly guys were into it, especially Mark. So Mark threw in the guitar on top of it. It's like he channeled his Fast Eddie Clark, best, you know, impersonation of Fast Eddie. And next thing you know, we record. And then you have the second part of the song, which is kind of like more like a heavy, almost like I'll say kind of Cro-Mags, actually. It's kind of like, so that song to me is a bit like Motorhead meets Cro-Mags, which is cool because they both did tour together back in the day. So that was kind of cool.
The song Under Rapture is another one that jumped out at me too, because like you said earlier, it's kind of got that death metal thrash to it, but then at the end, you know, you've got like a super almost rootsy breakdown at the end, man. I've been blown away by this one, and I know the fans are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, Under Rapture is almost like three songs in one, because you have the first part, which is kind of groove, and you know, it's my part, my singing parts. And then you have the Ross part, which is all death metal, like very influenced by Immolation and Morbid Angel and the whole style. And then you have the end, which is almost like another a third song. You could have turned that into a third song, like a doom, almost like a doom kind of song. So I think it's cool having three elements in the same song. Makes it for a real cool, powerful song when you put it all together.
And you know, another thing about Josh Wilbur doing this is this album sounds so good.
Yeah, that's kind of Josh's thing. That was like, I didn't care. I wasn't worried at all about the sound. Like that's his realm. That's what he does, you know. And you know, he learned everything from Andy Wallace, and Wallace was like, you know, our master when we did Chaos. You know, we learned so much from him, and I knew we were going to be in good hands. And So we kind of let Josh just do his thing. He mixed it too. I wasn't really involved in the mix at all. Like, I just kind of just would tell him a little bit about vocal effects, here and there to add some more vocal effects. But everything else, it was all him. And then, he got somebody else to master the record. He told me that he liked the record so much that he wanted somebody else to master, because he said that if he wouldn't master, he wouldn't be as good as he could be, which is really cool. Very, very nice attitude to be like that, So they give it to this guy Blackwood to master, and he does a lot of really big albums, and but yeah, man, totally full on credit to him on the sound of the things, In fact, we recorded in 3 different places. We did the main stuff at Hybrid Studios in LA. Then we did some guitars and vocals in Josh's house. And we still haven't finished, so Josh came to my house and we finished the vocals in my house, which was cool. Recorded in 3 different places to get this thing done.
And the one element that shines on this album is Mark. Mark Rizzo is all over this album. Be it just heavy riffs to crazy intro noises to and the solo work on this album. If he hasn't been recognized as a top 10 guitarist up to this point, this album could be the one that puts him over the edge.
Yeah, Mark was funny because the last record is with him, we kind of put up brakes on him, and because it was the kind of record that needed less to be more effective. It was Psychosis, and it was the producer Arthur and me, we talk about it. We didn't want a whole lot of guitar stuff on it. We wanted to keep it simple, So we kind of put the brakes on him. And then when it was time to do Soulfly, the brakes were off. Soulfly is where he can let it fly, man, let it rip. And he did, man. I mean, some of my favorite shit is on this record. The solo on Dead Behind the Eyes, gorgeous, beautiful solo. All the tapping he does on Bite the Bullet and Evil Empowered. And then the intro of Ritual, which is the little prophecy sound thing. Wow, Digitech pedal that he does. I told him he should trademark that. That's him all the way. That's the Rizzo sound, When he came up with that, I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude! Awesome! You did it again." I didn't know you could beat prophecy, but you did. You find a way. So yeah, Mark's playing really cool stuff. Really, a lot of different noises to throw the whole thing. There's the summoning. There's a little guitar things all over the place. The end of Blood on the Street. There's almost Iron Maiden, Megadeth kind of guitars, really kind of cool. At the gates, kind of feeling to it, kind of melodic. So yeah, man, I think he went all out for this one, which is cool.
And the one thing I liked about it too is I don't even know how to explain this, but it sounds, they're almost like radio friendly guitar solos. They're not just killing you with notes and sweeps and all kinds of tricks. I mean, they're melodic, sing along guitar solos. I was very taken aback by Mark's playing on this one.
Yeah, because I mean, if you let him, he would just go all day long,
Which he does do all day long. Yes.
I told him that I don't really. It's cool that he does that, and he loves it, but I don't see it the really point to having a record full of that. That's why he does his solo records, so he can put all that in that. I like more when it's a tasty solo, that you can, like you say, kind of friendly, almost like pop. And especially to me, the solo of Dead Behind the Eyes was the perfect example. Or even the little thing he does on Ritual, which is almost like a Randy Rhoads kind of thing in the middle of Ritual. Those are more memorable, and they add more to the song than any other arpeggio thing that you can do. That they would just sound like 1,000 million people out there. They do that already. So there was no point putting that in the record. So I was more into that. And he knows that too. It's kind of cool. Mark's kind of guy that I don't have to tell him that stuff. He knows that. He knows how I feel about that kind of stuff. But I love the intro he created for Demonize. That it was almost like the intro of the album. When I first asked him to do that, I asked him to create an intro for the record, and he came up with that. We listened to a lot of, of course, Metallica, Master of Puppets, and Ride the Lightning, and Beneath the Remains has all these melodic intros. We were trying to go in for something like that until Ritual came on with the Navajo chant that eliminate any chance of needing a melodic intro, But we end up using in as an intro of a song, so we end up using for the intro Demonize. And I love it's kind of like, reminds me of River's Edge, the movie. Have you ever seen River's Edge?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, River's Edge is a movie from the 80s with Keanu Reeves.
Okay. And
the soundtrack was a Metal Blade soundtrack, had Slayer on and a bunch of other bands, Hellow's Eve. But the music of the movie is all this cool acoustic guitar, like really creepy, really dark. And that's what reminds me of. It reminds me of a River's Edge kind of which is really cool. I really love that Mark channel. He loves the movie too, so we both talk about it. Like, yeah, it's cool that you got something on that record that sounds like the movie River's Edge. I was very happy about that.
And then the latest, is it Soulfly 9? Is that what's the instrumental on here?
11 actually.
11. Okay, my dyslexic Roman numerals there, but the obviously the guitar work on that, and then there's some horns coming in there and stuff. It's once again, man, it just knocks it out of the park in a great way to end the album.
Yeah, I almost didn't want that. I was kind of fighting to leave it out of the record.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the record just to be 9 songs and be short and sweet, brutal all the way. But Josh kind of convinced me of keeping that song. He said it'll be good for the record to have a melodic ending. And I kind of agree with him now. Now listen to the record. When it goes to that, it's kind of cool. It's kind of like lets you kind of decompress, a little bit. And you can always go back to the beginning,
Especially after, it's very, very, very similar to like Far Beyond Driven, where it ends on Planet Caravan, and then if you want to start the album over, you go right back into it,
Right, yeah, and it was cool. I mean, I love the riff is actually an old riff from 25 years ago. I mean, I was still in Sepultura when I wrote that, the main riff of Soulfly 11, and we used the original one. Josh didn't want me to re-record it. He wanted to use the original one. It's a 4-track riff that I recorded on my 4-track. And it's a bit influenced by a little bit of Metallica, Fade to Black kind of stuff. And then he put some drum machine. He had some overdub of the drums. We don't have any live drums on that song. And then needed something. I suggested him a saxophone, and he found the guy from the Pre-Reckless to play saxophone. He's a buddy of his.
Oh wow!
And then I think the sax is where it really makes that song cool. It stands out. I mean, it just feels nice. It just has a nice, and it's cool for me. It's cool to say we have saxophone on a Soulfly record.
Right.
It just makes the whole Soulfly, world music thing has more credibility with that. But yeah, I'm happy with that. I think it came out cool. I think it gives a good ending for the record. And especially right out of Feedback, which is this throwback rock and roll song, and then you got Soulfly 11, mellow as fuck. And yeah, I think it's cool, man. The whole record feels like a journey to me, from Ritual, from the beginning with the Navajos. I think the Navajo was a big part in this album. Recording with them was a big part. The chant, and it came out killer. And I love the involvement that they brought to this record. And it was like, that is the tribal Soulfly that I love. That is like, connects to the root albums like Roots and Soulfly 1 in a big way, So I was very happy that I got to. And the recording with the Navajo was cool too. It was like Burzum, black metal, old school, do-it-yourself recording. I just went with my $10 Radio Shack microphone, and we went to Tuba City with my wife and got a hotel room. I slept, in a circle between all of them, and they play drums and chant, and I just with the mic recorded everything, and that's kind of like how it was done, like really, really cool, really organic, the real thing, the real recording. So it was really cool.
Now, how do you reach out to the tribe and say, hey, I'd like to come and record with you guys? I mean, do they know who you are? Do they know what's going on? Or are they just excited that somebody wants to record?
We've been going there since 2000. And we played there a bunch of times. In fact, we were headliner on the recognition of the Navajo Treaty or 1868. They asked Soulfly to play to be a headliner this kind of festival. We know the Vice President Jonathan. We know the Chief of Police. So it was kind of cool. We knew who to talk to organize it, and it came out really, really good. I really loved the way the whole thing was. The whole thing was structured really underground, really cool. Like no big production, no Hollywood high tech production. Just really old school way of doing it, and it came out great.
The last thing on the new album, you got your son Zion Cavalera on drums. Kind of going into the show, and it's not too far fetched for me to be a little worried about a little nepotism going into the show and being like, oh man, he's got his son playing drums. But when I saw you guys live with Nile over the I guess earlier this year, I was completely blown away by Zion. I thought he was so much fun to watch. He's kind of a spastic drummer back there. He's a beanpole of a kid, but man, he was killer, man. I loved it.
Yeah, Zion has really grown a lot the last couple of years. I think when he joined Soulfly, he was still evoluting and he was still learning. But he learned real quick. I think by the time we did Archangel, he was really kicking ass. And now Ritual, he totally destroys on it. He's great, And playing live now with him is almost like what I hear after the show is like how good his playing was from almost every fan I talk to. So yeah, he's a really good addition to Soulfly. And to me it's cool because I was also worried about that. Like people are gonna say, oh, he's in a band just because he's my son. Of course, some people might think that, but that's not the case. He's in a band because he's a badass drummer. He's playing really good. In fact, I think he's probably Soulfly's best drummer since Roy. I could definitely say that, and I mean, that's really cool, man. That says a lot.
That does say a lot. And just real quick, couple of side notes. You've been doing Cavalera with your brother Igor Cavalera, doing stuff from Beneath the Remains and Arise era. You did the Nail Bomb album. You did the Roots album. Is there any plans for anything with Chaos AD?
Yeah, eventually we will get to that. We go we're doing kind of one by one, little by little. We go to South America now next week, do this Arise Beneath the Remains thing for a month. We did it in Russia. It was great. People lost their shit. It was so cool, man. Some of the fans were like, couldn't believe that was happening, and it felt really good. It's really fun playing those records. Now, K is one of my favorite Sepultura records of all time. That one I think is going to be really fun to do. It's really cool, and that one's got to be by itself. We can't really mix with anything else like we did Arise. But yeah, eventually. We gotta wait for the right time, and for sure, we probably will get out there and do it. It'll be really cool.
You guys toured with Primer 55 back in the day. I played bass. I wasn't on the tours with you guys, but Jason, I know Jason Luttrell, who recently passed away. Even up until his passing, would occasionally post a video of you guys playing Bleed with him coming out on stage. I know he was very, very proud of that because he would post it probably once, twice, 3 times a year on his Facebook. So I know he was a big fan of you and that time period. I mean, do you have any memories of Jason?
Yeah, just from that tour, and of course, it's real sad whenever we hear about anything like that, man. It sucks, man. We hearing about anybody that from our camp that passed away. makes us extremely sad, and our prayers are with his family, and friends, and Bleed was created for that. It's a song. It's about Dana, and it's about murder, and it's about just dealing with spiritual world. So whoever we share Bleed with through the years, which has been a lot of people, Jason's one of them. It's very special. It's a very special song we share with just very special people, man. So it's we had a really good time playing that with Jason, and he'll be very missed, man. It sucks.
Well, like we said, guys, the album Ritual out this Friday, October 19th, Nuclear Blast Records. Looks like the tour kicks off in January with Cataclysm and Insight. You've got the Cavalera stuff with your brother coming up, doing the early records there too. So one of the hardest working men in metal, and Max Cavalera, once again, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, and I'm very excited for that tour, man. Cataclysm, last record rocks. It's an awesome record. Looking forward to, I never met them, looking forward to meet and play them. Insight's new album is awesome. It's really killer. It's so it's going to be a hell of a tour, hell of a ride. And it's the beginning of Ritual World Tour. So I hope to see everybody there, man. It's going to be great.
All right, Max. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day, man.
All right. Take care, man.
Just one day from your flesh, rejoice to the void, consume my love of breath, human creation.
As always, huge thank you to Max Cavalera for taking the time to come on the Talk To Me podcast. Make sure you're checking out the new album. I can't get enough of it. Huge Sepultura fan, huge Soulfly fan, and this album harkens back to those good times. If you enjoy the Talk To Me podcast, make sure you're leaving a 5-star rating, 5-star review over on iTunes. You can also leave a review at podchaser.com. Search out the Talk To Me podcast there. Thank you guys to all of you who voted in the Podcast Kings bracket tournament, that was eventually won by Rock and Metal Combat Podcast. And I think Baco says it best when he says that we all have listeners and they have fans. It's true, man. The Rock and Metal Combat Podcast have some rabid fans. Huge shout out to those guys. And once again, just thank you guys for everyone out there voting at the Podcast Kings tournament for the Talk To Me podcast. If you are a fan of the Talk To Me podcast, make sure you are supporting our good friend down in Atlanta, Georgia, Scott Bowling with Good Company with Bowling. Make sure you are heading over to patreon.com/talktome, choosing a tier, helping out the podcast financially. A little monetary donation is never frowned upon on my end. Helps pay for the cost of this podcast for you guys. And once again, for the Talk To Me podcast, I've been Joshua Toomey. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys next Thursday.